Good evening, my friends. How's everyone doing tonight? I guess I always start off my videos that way. I wanted to make a video tonight about, well, the last one I just made was about Kratom. I was talking about health and human services and whatnot, and I never really got to read this little poetry piece that was about Kratom that I wanted to, but I may do it in this one if I have time, so to speak. But I guess I always have time. I wanted to talk a little bit about my love of substances, alkaloids, cannabinoids, but kind of explain a little bit why I don't, I guess why I don't talk about drugs very often. Not just drugs, but like psychedelics, which are a huge part of my life and have been, but they're not something I use on a regular basis out of, you know, respect and fear of them, because it's a scary experience. I mean, not like a bad trip, but it takes a lot out of you, and the older you get, you're like, a little more reluctant. And so anyhow, I've always been fascinated, and when I was talking, especially back in the, you know, a couple of years back, you know, I'd been talking with a few people on YouTube, and one of my subscribers said, I want to send you a book, and she bought this for me, had it sent to my house. I mean, this is like $100 book. Unbelievable. The Encyclopedia of Psychoactive Plants. And I've got several bookmarks, and I've done a lot of research out of it, but there's still a lot more to do. And it's funny because whenever I talk about these subjects, I almost feel like guilty or corny or cheesy. Maybe the guilt comes from the fact that society's told me that mind-altering substances are bad. And, you know, even though I know better, I've been bombarded with the live life on life's terms thing. And I'm continuously asking myself why. You know, if I have the choice to alter my brain chemistry if I choose. I'm an intelligent adult who's spent 42 years on this planet and seen what happens when I go too far. I've seen what happens when I abuse things. I've seen what happens when I go down the wrong road. I've seen what happens when I lose control. But I don't do that anymore. I don't ever do that. I never lose control. I never go overboard. The substances I do use are limited, but I tend to love alkaloids. I love caffeine, nicotine. You know, well, Kratom would contain misogynin, but a lot of these alkaloids seem to have a very, you know, unique effects on the human body and mind. And I can understand why a lot of people would say, hey, you know, don't do drugs. You know, it's that outlook. But it's not always about doing drugs for the sake of getting high, and I think a lot of people don't understand that. That even though, yes, it may change our outlook, you may feel a slight bit better. You know, maybe you had a bad day, and you have a beer in the evening and it makes you feel better, or you smoke a joint, or maybe you have a hard time getting out of bed and a little bit of back pain, so you take Kratom. And then society, some people in society will tell you to feel guilty for that. That, you know, that the idea is to kind of overcome this. This is why treatment centers, for example, don't allow Kratom use even, or, you know, it's, but most don't mind if you smoke cigarettes, right? I mean, you know, we're kind of missing the root of some of these problems. So I have this stack of books over here that I wanted to kind of read out of. I was, you know, I've always been fascinated with extracts and different plant materials, and Kratom's always been one of my, you know, I've been thinking about making one of my own extracts, but actually over here I thought I'd show you guys this, since this is a love of mine. I just have been working on this for a while now, on and off, and I've got some, ordered some 99% isopropyl alcohol, and right here on the bottom of this little Pyrex dish is, well, you can see that amber goodness. This is probably, I don't know, 6 to 10 grams of pure CBD extract that was made from Harlequin tsunami flowers that were like 13% CBD, and it's probably really low THC, if anything, not much. And so I made this using maybe a quarter pound of some old bud from like a year or two ago harvest that I'd been waiting to do something with, and I didn't want to pay somebody else to do it because I can't afford to pay somebody else to extract it. So I started working on my own method, and I took pictures of it, and I was going to post up a tech article about my experience doing it, because there's a million people that show how to do extracts, but when you do it hands-on, it's a little more complicated. And I've done this several times in the past, but I've never got a product that was this beautiful. And that's not even completely filtered. So anyhow, I guess unless you make extract, it's not going to really impress. But I have such gratitude for living in a day and a time, you know, when we can just get access to anything we need. Separatory funnels and filters, a variety of compounds. You can order any type of root bark or, you know, anything you can imagine. If you want to, you know, try your hand at, like, well, I guess it would be the, you know, the alchemists of the past used a lot of, you know, herbs as well. And I think of it as kind of a modern alchemy, trying to find which plants work together and which remedies are the best. So over here I've got these 3 books I wanted to share. I think I was going to read some notes over here, but my friend gave me these. He gave me 2 of them, and I bought the 3rd one. I think that, yeah, just these ones. I have a few other books that I was going to share, but screw it. Don't have time for it. This one is called, the first one he gave me, which spurred the interest, is called Pharmacognosis. It's Plant Teachers and the Poison Path. And it's got a variety of poems and small captions, pictures, and stories. And then the next one he gave me, which was another part, he gave it to me for the solstice the same year. And this is Pharmacopoeia. And then the last one is Pharmacodynamics. This one is mostly about kind of stimulating things, if you will. But the one, Pharmacognosis here, it's pretty interesting. I thought I would just kind of read this, because you don't see very many like articles in books about kratom or some of the more obscure herbs, but of course this would have it. Mitragena speciosa, kratom and the art of dimensional smuggling. Kratom is in the Rubiaceae family, the coffee family, and is native to Southeast Asia. Kratom has both stimulating and sedating effects. Like coca and opium together, a rather enticing come-on. Perhaps it's not surprising that kratom is outlawed in Australia, Malaysia, Myanmar, and Thailand. In Thailand, where kratom is widely chewed by the mountain people, there are kratom addiction clinics. The opioid-like effects seem to be due to the 7-O-mitragynine, and similar alkaloids. The herb is available in several different grades, and the dosage depends on the grade and the user's tolerance. Kratom is the only opium substitute that really is. I can think of no reason that kratom's addictive qualities should be commensurate with its euphoria and analgesia. Reports to the contrary are due, I would guess, to lack of experience. But hey, maybe there is a non-addictive narcotic. Users have various strategies to avoid becoming addicted. Never take it more than once a month. Never take it more than once a week. Never take it more than twice a week. All exactly the same words used by heroin chippers, and probably with the same curve of success-failure, with 50% becoming addicted in 2 years, or 1 year, or 3 years, or whatever it is. Physical addiction is not the end of the world, of course. I mean, if the plant is helping you. And that's kind of the key line there. It's kind of hard to define how these are written. It's done in kind of a poetic fashion. The next part says, the ally. Oh my. Another seductress. Class. Kratom is really in bed with euphorica. Maybe with a couple of feet sticking out. Maybe with one foot sticking out towards thanatopathia. Oh, what? Thanatopathia. Like kava kava, which is what your tongue feels like when you drink the tea. Light doses, 1 to 2 grams, good stuff, do have stimulating effect, but the same is true for opium, for me anyway. Effects: narcotic, analgesic, onirophoric, and sociable, relaxing, pleasant. Like all of its class, and yes, a little like a speedball. Larger doses, 4 to 5 grams of the good stuff, can cause nausea and vomiting, especially if taken all at once. Kind of like a longish tail the next day. Not really unpleasant, but present. How taken? As a lightly bitter tea, maybe with a little lemon to aid the extraction of the alkaloids. As a quid with some ground lime. Smoked? In a milkshake or in juice, or whatever be thy fancy. The ally. Who needs poppies? Many kratom aficionados like to be alone for the heavier Dreamtime doses. Officer, I could walk a straight line if you could draw me one that wasn't moving. If you drink the tea over several hours, you can go on drinking more. Effects: colorful, hypnagogic imagery. The ally. I drove the truck around the house and parked it in some shade. It is quite possible that my client is not a lawyer at all, but merely represents lawyers. As experiment to determine the best method to place a mental image in the mind of another. When I stepped out of the truck, I saw a small dead snake in the dry grass. It had been run over and was partially desiccated, and it had 2 lizard-like legs up near its head. It's quite possible that my client, this plant, is not a lawyer at all. If you use the back door, assuming it's unlocked, you can get back in without disturbing anyone. How can these stars still be out when I have my eyes closed? We can all be subverted by a word, a signifier that creates a gate that defines us, etc., by habit, and just keep thinking things easy. We generally step through it, but it's always an option to push over the whole gate. What was that line? I want to remember that line. And what was that? What just happened? Yes. What was the line I wanted to remember? I know, that's such an awkward poem. They're all like that. It's much better if you're reading it in person. So, the books are by Dale Pendell, and you're welcome to check them out yourself if you're interested. And I guess I've rambled enough about plants and extracts and stuff. I think I'll probably put this one on my herb channel, because that's where I'm trying to consolidate some of these things. So if any of you are watching this on my herb channel, I also have another channel. It's Carpo 719, which is my main channel that I upload to. And I just keep this one for mostly just plant related stuff. So peace and love, and I'll talk to y'all later. Have a good one.